Let's now move on to your hands and get some nice discussions here. So 7-5 is Sergey's hands on the button. He raises and Bonnie MCZ calls. On the flop, you bet half pot. He calls. Turn is a queen. Check back, showdown value, no questions. On the river, we have our 7, so he checks. Sergey bets 2/3 or even 3/4 and gets check raised. So our hand looks like a nice bluff catcher with Sergey call here.
I actually remember this hand pretty well, and before looking at the timestamp, I didn't really think that it was played almost even more than a year ago. Well, to me, it was played maybe a couple of months ago. Time flies by nowadays. So, but I clearly remember what I thought on this hand. In fact, I analyzed river battery bets not that long before that hand happened. And I remember that these types of hands were the best candidates for bets betting the river because they block all of the nutted combos. Queen 5, Queen 7, get 7s that the villain could have. And I could definitely have some slow plays in this spot as well. I mean, my opponent is repping 3 of a kind, and I could have some better hands. For example, I could have Queen 5 that check back the turn because of the huge blocker effects on villain's continuing range. I could have Queen 7 that decided to check behind the turn and raise rivers. That's a possible play. Get 7s and 5s are probably never in my range. But yeah, I could rep some combos that are better than Queen X. I could rep quads as well. That's not too relevant if my opponent has 3 of a kind, but it is relevant if my opponent has full house. So I would not be very happy in his shoes if I check raised the river with pocket 7s and got jammed on, because I would not beat any value at that point. So my hand would be pure bluff catcher. So yeah, I decided to use my blockers and went ahead and put the all-in. How do you feel about trying to fold out 3 of a kind with a check raise the river?
Well, first of all, it's a very nice play. I really like it. There are a few nuances to it, though. It really depends on our opponent. I'm not sure who this guy is. Can you tell me a bit about his profile? I assume it's regular.
Say that, he is a strong regular, and I would not say that he is too stationary or too aggressive. I think that he's closer to being reasonably stationary and reasonably aggressive. So I would not expect him to always call down here with a queen, and I would not expect him to always bluff in spots that he perceives to be plus to bluff. So I would not expect him to blindlessly bluff it off with every single hand in his range.
Okay, so a well-balanced, decent, strong regular. You know, speaking from GTO perspective, our hand is obviously the best candidate we can ever imagine because we block 2 of his full houses. So, no question asked with the hand candidate. Now, the problem I see here, when our villain check raises trips plus, if he has pocket 7s, it's probably the number 1 candidate to fold against your shove because it blocks your potential bluffs and it loses to full houses, Queen 5 and 2 quads, so probably number 1 candidate. However, the problem is that most of his value hands are Queen X type of hands, and when he has Queen, you wrap pretty much just Queen 5 suited one combo and Queen 7 suited another combo. So just two diamond combos of value, if you think about it. His pot odds are 32%, so you need to have like 0.9 bluffs here, which is quite easy, I think, to get. Maybe pocket sevens, by the way. Do you ever check them back on the turn?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably never. That's why we wrap pretty much just 2 combos. But at the same time, what makes this bluff great, if you think about your opponent and he understands how narrow your value range is, and that people don't really like to bluff when they wrap a very narrow range, which makes this spot, two-sided and not easy at all.
Well, some people do like to bluff when they're a narrow range, but it's quite easy to figure out who these people are.
Well, I mean, our best bluffs are 5-7 suited, so we have 3 combos. We need to randomize 33% to play almost GTO here.
Say that not every single 7-5 suited combo is equally as good to bluff. For example, 7-5 of clubs and 7-5 of hearts do not block as many of our opponent full houses as my combo. So I feel that a good strategy on the river here is to obviously value shove our full houses and bluff this, maybe this exact combo, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, so almost 100% time shove with this hand. Maybe like 90%, approximately, if we go to GTO too deep. And also it depends on the player profile. If you play against some tighter player, I think that we could overbluff even with our, not necessarily, 5-7. We could have any pair plus blocker and try to fold against tighter players who tend to fold. But yeah, given our strong balanced opponent, great play, great hands to bluff. And did he think a lot before folding?
Well, he definitely had an idea. I remember he thought about it. Or maybe fake folds. Hurls.
Maybe, could be. But anyway, well played. Cool hand. Let's see what happens here. 100 BB stack and L5K, 2.2 BB raise, and we 3-bet 7 BB, standard so far. On the flop, you see bet 1/3, a bit less, like 25%, and get check raised. His check raise size. So he probably wraps trips plus. I don't think that 9x ever raises with this, more like a polar size. So he wraps some queen axes, and what are his main candidates to value check raise and to bluff check raise? Do you think he has ace queen off at all? Because this is Oh Hey Cindy, PokerStar's name. I played against this guy. Back in the day, he used to be quite loose. So would you give him ace queen off here, pre-flop?
I think that in this position, it should be mixed between 4-betting and calling. Probably never folds, especially against my 3-betting size. So yeah, he could have ace queen off.
That's interesting because, in my standard strategy, I would 4-bet or fold with ace queen offsuited in these positions against strong regular. I think this hand is, it's indifferent if it's mixed, but you say it's a never fold? Maybe I'll
personally never hold it.
Okay. And he would obviously never fold because he's probably still loose, maybe not as loose as back in the day, but anyway. So, okay, he wraps at least, let's say, half of ace queen off suited and queen king suited. You block some of those. And then what is his weakest queen? Maybe queen 10 suited? Or
I think he could raise any queen. It's not frequency. Maybe he would raise the spots at a higher frequency than the equilibrium suggests. So yeah, I would not be surprised to see any queen here. He might not go for stacks with a hand like queen 10, but he could just check raise and then start check calling.
Okay, the problem I see here with check calling is that we usually do that when we raise a merge range on a flop. So then on the turn we would need to protect our merged hands and create check calling range. But here I think he wraps a polar raise, so he says I have queen plus or a draw. In such case, I think it doesn't make too much sense to check raise queen 10 and then to go for check on turn and then check call. Why would we want to create check call in range? And another reason why I would never play queen 10 like that, and I don't expect most of players to, I think this hand does the best in check calling range. First, it protects our calls, and second, it doesn't make hands like your fold, the gotchas, the dominated gotchas, because if 10 comes on the turn or on the river, it stacks off against king jack always, because king jack is going to c-bet flop and then check back on turn or double barrel, and with our hand we always get to see two cards, and we create two opportunities for our opponent to get dominated.
Question for you. So how would you describe a hand like pocket sixes in our opponent's shoes? Is it a bluff? Is it a merge raise? Or is it both?
Oh, I think it's a pure bluff, because when we merge raise, we need to win at least X amount of time, and when we check raise sixes, we only win against ace king type of hands that call and then check against our check on the turn, whereas other hands would rather bet. For example, your hand, if it calls on a flop or jack 10 or whatever, and if you're getting checked on a turn, you're probably going to bluff with this hand to make better broadways fold and to make pockets fold, etc. You probably don't want to check back, and you don't risk getting check shoved on a board like that. So yeah, I would put it into a pure bluff category on a flop.
Yeah, the reason I asked here this question was because, let's say pocket sixes check raise the flop, and then a very blank turn comes, like a deuce. Now suddenly pocket sixes have some showdown value against check down ace king or maybe ace jack, and that's why you need some hands like queen 10 to protect that little bit of showdown value range. So I would not exclude hands like queen 10 from his check raise range.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and from the GTO perspective, I think it's absolutely right. It's just the way I build my strategies, and expect, maybe most people to simplify their strategies too, to make them more logical, more human-like, so you don't just copy solver without understanding why he does X or Y. The thing is, to have some check calls on turn, we can do that with queen king as well, because at least this is the best trips, but not the best. And you said that on some blanks with our pocket sixes, we might need to protect our check call. But the thing is, we don't get many blanks on a board like that. So 8, 10, jack, king, ace, 9 are not blanks. So it seems like half of the deck, not half, but a very big portion is going to be not blank. And sixes are going to be worthless.
I don't agree with you with the last statement that you said, because when a king, jack, or 10 comes, sixes could serve as a bluff.
Yeah, but so it's not a merge hand, it's a bluff.
Yeah, but I'm saying that pocket sixes check raise the flop, and then when a turn completes some of our other draws, pocket sixes bluff, and then when the turn is a blank, pocket sixes serve as some small showdown value hands.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So we could probably protect them with king queen, or maybe if we want to check raise some using randomizer with queen 10, that could be a play. Though I still would simplify it, but yeah, it's a personal preference. Anyway, he check raise, we have no options but call, and turn is an interesting card. He checks, and his sixes must win now. You have the best imaginable hand here to bluff. You block his suited combos. He only has suited queen jack and suited king queen, and you block those combos. So now when he checks, his better hands are ace queen suited, so just one combo of hearts, or ace queen off suited, but some of those are 4-bet preflop. So what is it? Plan.
Our plan is to apply maximum pressure here. It's a very good card for our range because our kings, aces, jacks got up in value, and the number of strong value combos in our opponent's range has significantly decreased. Not only does he have fewer queen X combos at the moment, but also his pocket nines got way weaker. So yeah, I would not be surprised if the correct strategy in the button chooses to have the entire range against the check.
And when you say apply maximum pressure with your hand, you mean to always stack off with it, like no matter what happens, because this is like the best imaginable blocker we could have.
Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect hand. Maybe the better hand would be his king of hearts, but I don't think it's a good idea to call that one.
Yeah, probably to lose. So on the turn, I like your size. I mean, it's standard, 1/4 of the pot. He check calls. By now, his range looks like, full house of nines, some rare quads, and then those pockets that bluffed on a flop. Pocket ace, by the way, is a nice check raising candidate, I think. Maybe, why not? When Jack 10 gets his straight, we get to cooler him.
Do you think he could have some other not obvious check calls on the turn? Let's say if he has a hand like Jack 10 of spades or King Jack of spades, do you think that those hands would call the turn in his shoes?
He probably has enough equity given the size, because you still have hand like Jack 10, at least, or hand like yours. Probably against 1/4 we cannot fold, and we probably do not continue betting with those hands on the turn as well. Or do we? Would you ever bet Jack 10s of spades on the turn?
I think it's a range check in the opposition shoes.
So interestingly, on the river we even have some showdown value, very small and split. We also split sometimes, but obviously with our hand. And also the river, by the way, the best card we could have dreamt of. It blocks now. He is ace queen suited.
Yeah.
So he donks. Now this is surprise. What do you think about his donk bet?
Yeah, I asked you about those King Jack of spades and Jack 10 of spades hands for a reason. So it's actually very surprising to see this donk. At the moment I played that hand, I thought that it didn't make sense to donk quads for this size, because if I have an ace, I would not have raised this size, because I just don't see what it accomplished. And so I basically thought that it was either an ace somehow, like maybe ace 9 or something like that, or a hand like King Jack of spades, King 10 of spades, Jack 10 of spades. And so what would you do in my shoes?
That's a nasty spot, especially given the opponent, because he's losing aggressive. Probably not the best candidate to bluff against, but at the same time, I mean, probably not the worst spot to bluff, because the most important thing here is our hand is the absolutely best bluff we could imagine. If we do not bluff this hand, we have 0 bluffs. And even though he's loose, I still think that he's going to be in an incredibly tough spot if he has an ace here. And it's not an easy call at all. You have ace queen offsuited, you have king queen offsuited, at least portion of those, then suited queen x combos. So you wrap a realistic value range, and yeah, your bluffs are hands like yours, but they have to have hearts ideally, so Jack King or Jack 10 of hearts to block some of his quads, and that's not that many combos given your overall value. So I think he's going to be in an incredibly tough spot if he has an ace, and looks like a great spot to try and make him fold.
I felt the same at that time, and moreover, I didn't expect him to have many aces, so my main idea was to fold out snap folds, those draws, string draws that you would have. And I also thought that it would be very hard for him to call an ace in this spot, but because, I obviously have a lot of quads here, and I could have pocket aces as well. So, I have quite a few combos of value hands, and I had the perfect bluff, so I decided to go for it.
Yeah. I mean, the best blocker, we can only blame GTO if this doesn't work. And he makes the call. HDR of spades. Well, realistic hand to expect. But did he take a lot of time to think about it?
Oh yeah, he thought about it for ages.
I mean, against most opponents, it's definitely a great shove. 100%.
Yeah, agree.
But against him as well today, he should still, I mean, the best candidate we could think of. So I think if this hand happens again, we must do the same.
Yeah.
And he probably used randomizer to call you down with, so our bluff was plus E, absolutely. Well played, great hand. Alright, and what do we have here? Our last hand played on an L20k against Linuslav, I believe. This is WPN.
That's it.
And we are 250 BB, effective stack.
So 125.
Oh, sorry, 25, yeah, an L20k, 125. And we are out of position against the best player in the world. We raise, we got 3-bet. We mix this hand, I believe, to 4-bet, like 25%, 20, and call. Do you ever fold Queen Jack offsuited? Because against Linus, I think we could probably deviate and fold it here. I like the idea of overfolding in such spots when we feel like our villain has edge post-flop. But maybe that's what I would feel, but you know his game way better than I do, so folding is not on the table. What do you think?
I think this hand is marginal. Best, yeah, you can definitely fold it, but maybe at the time I played that hand, I was not in the folding mood, and I decided to call. And yeah, in general, I would mix it across 3 options. I would fold it sometimes, hold it sometimes, call sometimes, as you mentioned.
Let's see what happens. So we call, club goes check. He c-bets, 20% of the pot. Do you ever consider to check raise this hand?
Not this exact one. Maybe you could check raise a hand that has cleaner 5 outs. Maybe a hand like Jack 9 or Jack 8, especially the backdoor. Those hands are mainly calls, but maybe once in a blue moon you could randomize the check raise.
Yeah, and we have some better candidates like 4-5 suited and pocket 4s, pocket 3s, pocket 5s. And this is not the board where we check raise much. I mean, we have low frequency here. We lack first 2 sets, etc. Alright, so we call, and turn is an interesting card. It helps our range probably slightly better than his range, but just slightly. Overall, it's more like a blank. And he bets pots. I mean, reasonable size given the stacks. If we were 100 BB effective, 3/4 would probably be the standard. So
not the easiest size to play against. I think that it's not. We do not have enough to pair plus and good draws to continue in the spot. So we have to hit some weaker hands. And yeah, if we choose between all the King Jack and Queen Jack combos that we could have, the best ones I feel are with the Jack of Clubs, because when we have Jack of Clubs, we will hit non-flush 3 of a kind more often than if we don't have a bad card. So yeah, I decided to call this hand some of the time.
And it's a great...
Maybe every single time, considering that I folded it sometimes before that.
It's a great point that you've touched on, that you have Queen Jack with Jack of Clubs, which makes it one of the best calls. But what if you have Queen Jack with Queen of Clubs?
I think it is a way worse hand, because I feel Linus should bluff a lot of naked Queen of Club hands. Let's say if he has Queen of Club 8 or Queen of Club 9. Those are the good candidates for bluffing the turn because they bluff king queen, queen jack, and queen 10 of clubs that always continue. So by having queen of club in our hands, we significantly block his bluff region, and so that's why we should fold that hand purely at the turn.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering if we have jack king with king of clubs, which makes another worse calling candidate on the turn. Even though we might seem to have medium pair top kicker, we block his offsuited kings that always bluff turn, almost always, and always bluff on a club river.
If you had to compare my hands that I had in the exact hand, to, let's say, a hand like jack 9 of hearts, which one would you guess has the higher EV in calling this turn?
Honestly, I would fold jack 9 here. I wouldn't consider it. I think they have very close equity here, but here is the problem with jack 9. If turn came 6, for example, we would have more hands in our range that would become fold, like pocket 4s, pocket 5s. But when 3x comes on the turn, our 4s and 5s, the ones we didn't check raise on the flop, which is the majority, they must continue now, which means that we could fold more of our medium pairs. Like they have less equity than these better candidates. So I would not consider to ever call jack 9 of hearts.
Not sure that it's that easy of a call with pocket 4s and pocket 5s against the pot size. I see one problem with this play. Let's say our opponent has pocket 9s or pocket 8s. If we call pocket 4s and pocket 5s instead of jack x all the time, then it would make our opponent incentivized to bet those third pairs as a merge bets, because they would benefit from folding out second pairs, and they would also get called by the third pairs that they win against. I would imagine that in equilibrium, pocket 4s and pocket 5s are called some of the times, and middle pairs are not so many times. And top pair is almost never folded, maybe like ever. I just wanted to add that because he bet so small on the flop, our continuing range was wider than under normal circumstances, and that means that on the turn, our top pairs
4s, 4s and 5s we can randomize, and with jack 9, so you would also randomize that hand, not 100% fold.
Yeah, one thing. Jack 9 and jack 8. Well, from my first impression, they should be mixed. They should not be always for it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and jack 9 is probably, but once again, it's not obvious. Let's say jack 9 of hearts or queen jack of hearts, like what is better? It's not that obvious because queen jack blocks his ace queen that is going to bet turn and then maybe value bet on river. Whereas if we have queen jack ourselves, we do block his value bet, but at the same time, if queen comes on the river, then the potential gut shot is closed, and then we could expect more check backs, because our two pairs, they make this board look scary. Like if he has ace king and river comes queen, it's not like we're getting.
Yeah, exactly. Jack 9 has more implied odds.
Yeah, 9 is much safer.
For two pairs, yeah. I would think that queen jack of hearts performs worse than jack 9 of hearts in this possibility.
Yeah. And I loved your analysis, the way that you mentioned this idea about the difference between jack 9 and queen jack if we have the jack of clubs compared to queen of clubs. It's really interesting. Now the river. what could go wrong or right? What do you think about this river? It's a very interesting card.
I think it's perfect for us. And especially for our hand, because it blocks a lot of villains block catchers. If we consider jamming the rear, it blocks pocket jacks with the club, it blocks ace jack with the club, and so yeah, imagine that you are in his shoes with a hand like ace king or ace queen, and bear in mind that 3/4 of them have no club in them, and you face a dog gem on the river, which is more than a pot. So how happy would you be with those hands?
Yeah, that would be a disaster. Also, if you think about the ranges, how many flush draws he potentially has on the big blind, he doesn't have that many. Suited kings are not 3-bet, only the best ones pre-flop, and then the hands with the jack, they just check back on the turn. So, no kings, no suited kings, flush draws or flushes, no jacks, and then suited queens are not even 3-bet, at least in GTO pre-flop, only the best ones, and very rarely. So he has 10x type of flushes, 9x, 8 high type of flushes, but there is a very small percentage of those hands that 3-bet pre-flop. So if you think about range versus range, who has more flushes, then obviously he doesn't have those hands. So if you play against anybody but Linus, but top 10 players, let's say, we can overbluff here immensely on the river. We can just donk bet, immensely, because it would be so hard to call for the big blind. He never has those flushes. And if he doesn't think about us knowing about how weak from the nominal perspective his range looks like, then he could really overfold and not call enough.
You ever consider bluffing have like a 6 in this spot?
I'll say this. If the ace wasn't of clubs, if there was, let's say, deuce of clubs or jack of clubs and ace of hearts, then I would overbluff here a lot, because I've analyzed the spots, and when there is an ace on the board and the flush closes and ace is not of the suit, then the small blind has a gigantic range advantage because he has all of his suited aces, from ace 3 to ace queen, some of them 4-bet ace queens, whereas big blind only has the best suited aces and a small portion of ace 4, ace 5, which gives a small blind a huge advantage. So then I would overbluff a lot. And here, ace 6, I'm not sure, to be honest, with ace 6. Probably not. I wouldn't do that in game, but I would definitely analyze this hand after and see how wide can we spew here.
The reason I asked about ace 6 is because we do not really have that many certain pairs that we could turn into a bluff. Yeah, of course, we have king jack and queen jack with the jack of clubs. These are 3 king jack combos and some queen jack combos that were not folded or 4-bet pre-flop. Maybe some jack 9 and jack 8. And if we want to donk all of our, let's say, straight plus on the river, maybe that's not enough.
It's not enough, I agree, but instead of ace 6, I'd rather go for a hand like ace 10 with 10 of clubs.
Okay.
Because we block so many clashes. And they are equal. Ace 10 loses as much as ace 6 on the showdown.
That's a very good point. I didn't think about bluffing instead.
Let's see how did this scary hand end. So we're donk with the confidence, we have no reason to worry about. But we play against Linus, so it makes the situation quite harder.
And yeah, we block like with our jack of clubs.
Yeah,
it's important.
And it made him fold. Was it a fast fold?
Yeah. She thought about it. But again, you never know whether she was fake tanking or really folded. I don't know.
Yeah, with Linus
jacks. Let's say jacks without a club. Would you consider folding his shot?
This is a horrible spot. Definitely, I would obviously consider folding them. The question is, would I fold them or randomize call sometimes? I would try to think who I'm playing against. Is he capable of turning his top pairs? Does he realize that I have not many flushes here? And could it potentially provoke him? So yeah, very tough spot. Great played. Awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
the outcome of this set, because on the turn I was like, oh, he was betting for that. He would probably follow the river quite a bit, and my hand doesn't really want to call down. But then this river came, and yeah, it was wow. Let's do something interesting, and it worked.
Yeah, great. Hands like this, they make memories when you outplayed one of the best players.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you again. I think the hands were great. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming, man, and taking your time. I appreciate it a lot. Hopefully, we do something similar in the future. Maybe.
Yeah, time will tell. Why not?
All right, cool. Thank you, man. See ya.
Thanks.